Picture a locked truck, sitting completely abandoned on a remote Oklahoma dirt road. The engine is cold, the doors are locked. Inside that truck, investigators found wallets, IDs, a GPS, a starving terrier, and this exact stack of money. $32,000 in $100 bills, completely untouched. Criminal logic breaks down immediately here. If someone robbed this family, they would take the massive pile of cash. If the family was running away to start a new life, they would have taken their phones, and they certainly wouldn't leave their dog locked inside to starve. The owners of that truck were Bobby and Sherilynn Jamison and their 6-year-old daughter, Madyson. They drove into the mountains on a normal October morning in 2009 to look at a 40-acre plot of land, and they vanished without a trace. To understand how the physical evidence collapses under its own weight, we have to look at the investigation spatially. Their story is held within 3 distinct geographic zones, each revealing a different, conflicting part of their final hours. The timeline starts at the family's house in Eufaula, Oklahoma, on the morning of October 8th, where home security cameras captured their final hours before leaving. Over the course of the morning, Bobby and Sherilynn made dozens of trips between the house and their truck. They were packing, but they moved in complete silence. Their movements were slow, mechanical, and entirely trance-like. Investigators learned the family experienced mounting paranoia in the months leading up to the trip. They developed a sudden interest in the occult, purchased books on witchcraft, and Bobby began telling neighbors he believed his father had placed a dark curse on him. Look at this visual breakdown of a condition psychologist suspected after reviewing the footage: folie à dos, or shared madness. It is a rare psychiatric event where 2 closely connected people experience a synchronized break from reality, sharing the exact same delusion at the same time. A shared psychological crisis might explain why they packed in a silent trance, but a mental break inside a suburban home cannot account for the physical evidence investigators would find 8 days later. This image shows the rugged, heavily wooded terrain of the Sans Bois Mountains. For 8 full days, the Jamisons' locked truck sat completely undiscovered in this hostile environment. Because this specific region was notorious for methamphetamine production, police strongly suspected foul play. That theory gained traction when they found a letter among Bobby's belongings, stating clearly he believed someone wanted him dead. The targeted hit theory collides with the evidence. Criminals wouldn't leave a fortune sitting on the front seat. The untouched cash makes a robbery highly unlikely, yet the extreme isolation makes a breakdown fatal. Investigators lack any clear motive. The investigation stalled out completely for 4 years. Then, in November 2013, a group of deer hunters stumbled across 3 skeletons in the woods. The remains were located deep in a brutally dense area called Smokestack Hollow on Panola Mountain. To reach that spot, the family would have had to travel nearly 3 miles on foot from where they parked the truck. As seen here, massive aerial sweeps were part of the initial 2009 search effort. Over 100 volunteers and teams of tracking dogs scoured this exact stretch of wilderness and found absolutely nothing. When pressed on how a massive grid search missed 3 bodies 3 miles from the vehicle, the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation offered a highly scrutinized excuse, seen visually here. They claimed falling leaves had completely obscured the remains. When the hunters finally found them, the 3 skeletons were lying face down in the dirt, lined up perfectly side by side. Look at the sheer scale of forensic analysis required in cases like this. Researchers spent 8 months examining the bones, looking for trauma, toxins, or any physical clue. Ultimately, the medical examiner ruled the cause of death for all 3 victims as entirely inconclusive. Even with massive ground searches and advanced pathology, the scientific evidence failed to provide a single answer for how the family died, effectively closing the door on the physical investigation permanently. Whether you examine the drug cartel theory, the occult obsession, or the shared psychosis hypothesis, every single avenue contains a massive, unexplainable flaw. But debating those bizarre theories often distracts from the youngest victim in this case, 6-year-old Madyson. At 6 years old, she was old enough to know something was deeply wrong. She walked 3 miles into a hostile, brutal wilderness with her parents, entirely powerless to stop whatever was happening to them. She died face down in the dirt of Panola Mountain, while her small dog, Maisie, survived by waiting in an abandoned truck for 8 days, slowly starving for a family that was never coming back. Today, Madyson would be 22 years old, Bobby would be 60, and Sherilynn 57. Instead, they exist only as an open, cold case file sitting in a drawer in Latimer County. The reality of the Jamison case is that even with video surveillance, a massive cash reserve, and years of scientific testing, a family can walk into a mountain and vanish without leaving a single explanation for how or why. The Latimer County Sheriff's Office still considers this an open investigation. If you know anything about what happened in the Sans Bois Mountains in October 2009, please make the call.